So it's being reported over at the Wall Street Journal right now that tomorrow the prosecutors in New York City and state are going to be charging the Trump Organization and perhaps Alan Weisselberg, the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of the organization, with specific crimes having to do presumably with tax fraud and bank fraud, although we'll see. But no word that Trump himself or any of his children are going to be charged with these things. You know, I get it that people are kind of reveling in this. It's all over Twitter and, you know, the news and everything else. You know, hey, you know, we're going to get Trump. But it really occurs to me that the thing that we need to be holding Donald Trump accountable for, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't be holding him accountable for being a fraud, you know, essentially a criminal businessman his whole entire life. And stealing from his family, stealing from other people, you know, conning the tax code and all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that shouldn't happen. But it seems to me that the crimes that Donald Trump has committed as president, you know, letting 600,000 people die, putting, you know, just the open corruption, this story about Sonny Perdue yesterday, you know, buying a $5 million piece of property from Archer's Daniel Midland for $250,000 and then turning around and selling it for $5 million, if my recollection of the numbers is correct, certainly in that neighborhood. When Archer Daniels Midland would have, you know, one of the biggest ag companies in the country, and Perdue was had, you know, just been appointed or was about to be appointed Secretary of Agriculture. That's the kind of stuff. Now that's, you know, Sonny Perdue himself, but basically all Trump did was appoint grifters at every level of government over and over and over again and corrupt our government. And then he tried, you know, I mean, look at the two things he was impeached for. Right, trying to overthrow the government, you know, the impeachment in January, and then the impeachment, you know, the year before of trying to cut a deal with a foreign leader to trash talk Joe Biden. I mean, those are actual crimes. You know, violating the emoluments clause of the Constitution. I'm not sure that there's a criminal statute around that, but the Constitution is. I mean, the whole point of the Marbury versus Madison decision in 1803 was that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So, in my mind, we need to be holding Trump accountable. I mean, you know, it's nice to, you know, it's nice that New York State wants to hold him accountable for his financial crimes. You know, cool. They already shut down his fraudulent foundation. They already shut down his fraudulent university and extracted $25 million from him to compensate some of the students that he ripped off. But his crimes against democracy are so much greater. And whether we're doing this under the 14th Amendment, which says that anybody who has fomented insurrection against the United States can no longer hold public office, which would put an end to his fantasies about becoming president. Or whether we did it, I mean, this is the law I think he should be prosecuted under. It's 18 Code, U.S. Code 2384, seditious conspiracy. If two or more persons in any state or territory or in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, and that would include counting elections, contrary, or to force, or by force to seize, take, or possess any property of the United States, contrary to the authority thereof. That would be like occupying the Capitol building. They shall each be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. Why is Trump not being charged with seditious conspiracy? I mean, it's a question to put to Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, basically. Meanwhile, over on the Republican side, you've got these just sniveling cowards I mean, the president of the Wisconsin Senate, Chris Kapenga, writes this letter to Donald Trump. Michelle Cottle provides us with an annotated version of it over in the Washington Post today, or excuse me, in the New York Times. But he writes to Donald Trump, "Let me first say that very few people have the honor of being named publicly by a United States president. I never imagined mine would be mentioned, much less in this light, from a president that I have publicly supported and still support. I feel the need to respond, even though you will likely never hear of it, as the power of your pen to mine is like Thor's hammer to a bobby pin." And, you know, he goes on, "You owe me a round of golf at the club of your choice." And then he says, you know, he's about to board a plane to go home for a medical emergency, family medical emergency. And he says, "In addition to my Trump socks, I will pull on my Trump-Pence mask when I board the plane as required by federal law. I figure if liberals are going to force me to wear a mask, I'm going to make it as painful for them as possible." Right. No, it's not painful for us to see you wearing a Trump mask. We just think you're an ass. "I will continue to do this regardless of whether or not I ever hear from you," grovels Chris Kapenga. This guy lost the federal election by over 7 million votes. He lost the House. He lost the Senate. He failed to take any consequential action with regard to the pandemic, and 500,000 Americans died as a result of that. At least 400,000 who didn't have, who, you know, just even the smallest action could have prevented them from dying. And the Republican Party is still groveling at this guy's feet. I mean, how much longer do you think this is going to go on? I'm starting to wonder, you know, are they going to get their sense back? Are they going to get back to any kind of, you know, reasonable, rational anything? Or is this the new normal that Donald Trump, you know, kind of runs things?